allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open Public Meetings Act statement, please.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was forwarded to the official township newspapers, posted on the bulletin board and township website. This meeting is being videotaped and will be on Channel 9.
Roll call.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Deegan?
Here.
Mrs. Pesh-Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Flame?
Here.
Mayor Bruno?
Here. We're going to go into resolution R 12021, authorizing the hiring of Eric Tarno as patrolman 10th class. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve R 12021.
I'll second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh-Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Brian?
Good evening. Just like to say a little bit about Eric so everybody gets to know him a little bit. Eric was born and raised in Little Lake Harbor, New Jersey by his father Steve and mother Christina. He grew up alongside his younger brother and sister as well. They're his lifelong friends. Upon graduating high school in 2012, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps as an infantry rifleman. During his service, Eric deployed twice and experienced several countries in Europe and Africa as well as Japan. He also led a machine gun team and mentored 5 junior Marines before leaving the Marine Corps in 2016. In the fall of 2016, Eric began studying history at Stockton University with aspirations to become a school teacher. However, he felt as if he was missing the sense of service and duty he had grown accustomed to in the military. He changed his major to criminal justice, decided to serve as a federal or municipal law enforcement officer. In 2019, Eric graduated cum laude with Bachelor of Arts and immediately began training at the Cape May County Police Academy. During the academy, Eric was voted as class president by his peers. He also received the Range Award and graduated #1 overall in his class. Upon completion of his training, Eric began working for the Wildwood Police Department as a SLEO 2, where he remained until October 2020. Since then, Eric has been searching for a full-time position until he was offered this position here in Franklin Township. Currently, Eric lives with his wife, Emily, in Tuckerton. He and Emily have been together for 5 years and were married on June 19th, 2021. They enjoy spending time with their dogs, camping, paddleboarding, competitive shooting, and playing music. Eric, it's been a long process. We're glad to see that you made it through, and we're glad to have you here. If you don't mind coming up so that you can be sworn in.
Eric, you can come around this way here if you don't mind. No, you're good. Yeah. And let's face this way here so everybody can see you. Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, you're going to hold the Bible. You're going to put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. And repeat after me. Okay. I, Eric Tarno,
I, Eric Tarno,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all the duties
and justly perform all the duties
of the Franklin Township Police Officer to the best of my ability.
of a Franklin Township Police Officer to the best of my ability.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Take a break after the next one. We'll do one more resolution and we'll take a break.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve Resolution R-12421, approving a temporary emergency budget?
I make a motion that we approve R-12421.
I'll second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. We're going to take a break. I'm sure we got where we left off. Can I get a motion for public hearing on the following 0621?
I don't know.
I can just do that, Harry, I can't. We're going to have a public hearing on the following 0621, prohibiting the operation of Class 5 and 6 of cannabis businesses within the geographical boundaries and amending section of the Franklin Code. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
I make a motion we go into public hearing.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
She's gonna smoke weed.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
evening.
I have a question on the public hearing section here for the prohibiting of marijuana, or cannabis, as we call it. Can somebody explain to me what the amending section of the Franklin Code, what is that particular part of that is being amended?
Mr. Lyons?
We're amending the code to say that those classes 5 and 6 are not permitted uses.
Now, my next question then, if I can, would
Public
that
hearings.
mean that we would never be, I mean, if we choose to someday allow a business similar to, let's say, the Botanist that's over in Williamstown, that's operating now, would this prohibit us for how long? Until
5
we
years.
then 5 years?
5 years.
Now, let me clear that up, just because the taking action to allows the businesses 5 years of protection. But the banning can be revisited by ordinance at any point in time. If a subsequent township committee seeks to change that. Now, I'm not completely familiar with the Botanist. I think at this point it's a medical facility. That's a separate issue. This deals with recreational establishments, and the 5-year protection only goes in the direction of the businesses. The township maintains the ability to revisit it at any time until state law changes, at least for now.
Are the current, I would say, our planning and zoning, do any of those have to be changed because of, let's say somebody wanted to come in, but it was too close to, let's say, a school building or a park? Is that going to be looked at in the next 5 years, just to be sure that? I mean, I'm fine with having the facility, but I just want to know if it would be permitted.
There is the ability, if it's revisited and establishments of this type are allowed, it can be regulated so that it fits into certain zones, and similar to other uses that the state allows, buffers and setbacks and things that you're talking about.
Right.
1,000 foot from a school or whatnot. Some of the towns that are taking the permissive use approach are instituting those restrictions, regulation now. So the township committee would and could consider that at the time they were going to act to permit it, and they could, under this new state law, they can limit the number, they can limit the zones that they are permitted in, and they can impose additional restrictions as to hours of operation and distances from other and distances even from themselves, so you don't have a cluster, so to speak. So yes.
I appreciate you letting me know about that 5-year, because I understand, I also am in Clayton as well as Glassboro, who have both had similar ordinances that they're getting ready to pass. But they said that it isn't a 5-year. They can go back to it. But some of them are
That's
concerned.
correct.
They are concerned that it's close to where those areas of concern are. So they might be looking at changing some of the things around so that they
There
can.
was an effort to extend the deadline for local governments to act in order to address those issues that you're bringing up,
Right.
and that didn't go anywhere. So, local municipalities were left with the choice of either doing what we're doing or try to get it all right. And the Cannabis Regulatory Commission hasn't even released a lot of the guidelines and approval process, so it'd be very difficult for the governing body and/or the planning and zoning boards to address those issues without more
So that, so we need
facts.
more guidance, is what you're saying,
Yeah, so
from
a lot
above.
of towns have taken a wait-and-see approach,
That's what it
which this
seems.
is in effect because of the flexibility given to the local governments.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on 0621?
Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Brandon, we're not taking action on this tonight, correct?
Yeah, you are. That was your public hearing, and you
Okay.
typically will take a vote to approve, to authorize,
All right, can I get a motion to,
unless you you can do a motion to table, but then you're gonna have another public hearing. But I was of the impression that we were gonna pass this.
We already tabled.
Yeah. So let's do it. Motion to approve?
can I get a motion to approve 0621?
I make a motion that we approve 0621.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deacon?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on 0921, memorializing the acceptance of the stormwater improvements and the release of the performance guarantee?
I make a motion that we open the public hearing on 0921.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on 0921?
I make a motion that we close 0921.
I'll second?
Public portion.
Second.
Can I get a
Mr.
motion to?
Doyle?
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't I gotta say that first? You got ahead of yourself, Bart.
Got ahead of
That's because
myself.
Mary got ahead.
I know, I'm listening.
Say yes or no.
I second.
Can I get a motion to approve 0921?
I make a motion that we approve 0921.
I'll second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deacon?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on 01021, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank?
I make a motion that we open the public portion for 01021.
I'll second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on 01021?
I make a motion we close the public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve 01021?
I make a motion that we approve 01021.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deacon?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the first public portion for resolutions and/or ordinances below?
I make a motion we open the first public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ah, Bill. She got you. Clipped you, Bill.
Ladies first. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Township Committee and Mayor. Nancy Kennedy, 711 St. George Street. I just wanted to memorialize the fact that I did have a conversation with the mayor and the solicitor very briefly during the break, wherein I indicated that I believe there is some legalistic issue and problem with Resolution 10621. I've lived in the township for my whole life, absent probably 2 years, where I rented a house in Williamstown. I can tell you with all certainty that the last thing that I want is to sue this township. I can also tell you with absolute certainty that if the Township Committee moves forward with R 10621 as it is written, I will be filing a lawsuit. You may want to table it, you may want to discuss it with your solicitor. It is not accurate, it is inaccurate. Given that, given the fact that I am a resident, that I have children who live in this town, that I'm a taxpayer, that my parents are taxpayers, that my best friend and law partner is a taxpayer, I just wanted to make it clear. I will be filing a lawsuit if you move forward as it's written, because it's wrong. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee.
Good evening.
Question on R 10521. Can somebody explain what that is?
The aerial easement.
I looked at it and
Isn't
couldn't
that
make heads or
downtown
tails.
airport, the airport
Correct.
thing?
And it's a circle around the signaling device that encroaches slightly into our property line. We had to, if you recall, we requested the drawings and an
Yeah.
updated survey. It's a touch on our property, but they're required to have a certain distance from that equipment.
It's at Meredith's Farms.
Yeah, it tails into the back corner of the lot, ever so slightly.
Okay, that explains
This
it.
was at the request of the FAA.
Yeah, well, I just read it and said, I have no idea.
Yeah, it took, we went back
We
and
didn't
forth with
come
them
up
for months about, they thought we were.
They didn't
just-
offer us anything for the property, Bill.
I figured
No,
that.
No. they-
Government never does that. My other thing was on R-11721, you're introducing the budget. I request you seriously look at ensuring that there is adequate funds besides funding the senior lunch that fund additional senior activities if possible. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Renee Pistilli, Leah Party, 2787 East Grant Avenue. R10621, is Brandon getting any type of stipend for that? You getting paid any additional money besides what you're getting paid as the administrator to do this other negotiation work?
That would be part of the administrator's job.
I didn't hear you.
It's part of the administrator's job to oversee the finance department.
Okay, because I don't want it later coming back that he's going to get a $10,000 stipend because he's holding another hat, because you've done that in the past. Thank you.
Hello,
Hello.
Leah Vasselli, 560 Delsey Drive. I have a couple questions, and maybe I'm not looking in the right place, but you have R11721, the municipal budget being introduced. Where can we see a copy of that?
Is that online yet, Bart?
So under statute, the administrator's charged with presenting you with a budget. Once the administrator presents the budget, you vote to introduce the budget, and then it becomes a public document. Right now, it's still work product. If you decide to table the budget, it still becomes work product between myself and the Township Committee. That's the reason there should be a copy of it up there, correct?
We have one here. I did
Okay,
not see a
there's a
copy.
copy for inspection, but
It's-
until it's approved by the Township Committee and introduced, it's not a public document.
Okay, I just don't see any reason to be secretive about it, because, the more time people have to look at it, the more opportunity there is if they see something that they'd like to make a recommendation on.
I'll give you a copy right now, and you
Thank
can
you.
review it. There's nothing secreted about it, it's just
Well, it
presenting
sounded-
it to the
it sounded
committee.
like-
I don't know if they're going to
Brandon.
introduce it or not.
It sounded like you were saying that it was being withheld for a reason, so if I have the opportunity to take this and review it, that's great, and I thank you for it.
You're welcome.
Separate from that, I wanted to talk a little bit about ordinance 1121. I'm very curious about it. It was brought to my attention this morning. What is the purpose of this ordinance? What are you actually trying to achieve?
Do you want to take that?
No, I actually am
Mr.
asking the
Lyons.
committee.
Well, it's spelled, I think
I'm actually asking the committee. I want to know what their purpose
it's
is.
spelled out in the title of the ordinance itself.
Say that again, what,
I'm asking what you're trying to accomplish.
which,
O1121. It's the ordinance that you're going to vote on later today to introduce.
what are we trying to accomplish?
Yes,
We're
you drafted an
We
ordinance.
want to become compliant with the law.
And what is the law?
The law is that public part-time officials are not entitled to benefits paid for by the taxpayers.
Okay, and that's been the law since when?
I don't know that. Matt?
Yeah, it's 11, during the Christie administration.
I think it was 2011 as part of the
11
Chapter
11 or
78.
12, yeah.
So during the Christie administration, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that applied to part-time employees and not elected officials.
Are you-
But from that time on, has any part-time employee or elected official received benefits, taxpayer-funded benefits?
Not to my knowledge.
No, and there's nothing, there's no provision in Frank, I mean, you're not modifying an ordinance that allowed that to happen, right?
Correct.
I mean, the previous ordinance said a professional or a part-time employee, which includes publicly elected officials, can opt in to a healthcare, dental, or prescription benefit as long as they pay the full cost to the township plus a $10 per month administration fee, right?
I believe you.
Yes, it's in the resolution.
So that was, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'm just trying to understand.
It was a resolution that dies at the end of the year.
Yeah, that wasn't adopted as part of the township code, but it was,
Okay,
I know
but-
of what you're referencing.
Right, so there was something that allowed people to buy in but not get taxpayer funding, because like you said, that's not legal in the state of New Jersey, at least as it relates to part-time employees, or it's not permitted, we'll say. So I'm curious again, why do you have to pass an ordinance to replicate something that's already governed at the state level?
Brandon, Matt?
I don't
After
think-
speaking, you
Yeah,
can.
it will be part of our code, so that township employees will have a local reference for it. But you are accurate in saying that it is it replicates the state law, correct? That is correct.
I mean, it just seems to me to be an exercise in redundancy. It's correcting an ordinance that says the same thing. I mean, you're still allowing employees and officials to buy into healthcare programs, right?
And that's, this
Say
is
that
not
again?
allowing that.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If they're not taxpayer funded, this doesn't stop you. This only prevents taxpayer funded, which is the same as the previous ordinance.
I think there's a distinction at this point. I think we're talking about different things. That the previous resolution, you stated accurately, even funds that, even if the individual should seek to participate by paying it, that it's still a taxpayer-funded program that doesn't allow entry, as you've discussed.
Not at the state level, obviously not.
Okay.
I mean, you could go anywhere in New Jersey. I mean, looking at a New Jersey Times, the NJ.com article from 2019 that said something like 67 elected officials in central Jersey participate in a benefits program.
Well,
So either,
and the thing is that there are grandfather provisions of many of these things for both pension and health care, and we're not debating that. That is not the purpose of this.
well, that's what I'm trying to understand what the purpose is.
The purpose is to be clear at the township level, and again, the ordinance speaks for itself as to what is and what is not permitted.
Well, it doesn't speak for itself. That's why I'm
It does
asking the
speak for
question.
itself. It
I don't want to
absolutely
argue
does.
with you. I'm
Well,
asking.
you certainly don't hesitate to do
I'm
so.
asking the township committee what their purpose is. You're telling me it's to comply with state law.
I
Then you're
told
saying,
you-
no, we're actually changing the previous ordinance,
No,
but we're being
you-
wishy-washy
no, see,
about the
you
wording.
Once again, keep improperly stating things.
Well,
There
I'm
is no
stating what I'm
previous ordinance.
hearing.
There is no previous ordinance. There's a very.
A previous
very-
resolution.
But there's a very big distinction in action taken by a governing body, by resolution, and by ordinance.
And that's fine.
And the purpose of this is to take action formally as an ordinance, so that the confusion or lack of clarity that results from passing a resolution that dies and having the formal action being confused or ambiguous. So
Well,
that's the purpose.
Just to be clear, if this is meant to be clear, it's not.
Well, it's not clear to
Because,
you.
no,
but
it's not clear,
it's
period.
written
But when
for
you
the
say,
employees and the elected
when you
officials.
say that it mirrors the state law, it doesn't.
Okay.
Either that or every municipality that offers a benefit to an elected official or a part-time employee, regardless of whether they pay in or not, is in violation of this state provision unless they fall under a grandfathered clause. And I very much,
You're saying that the township doesn't have the right to take this action.
they have the right to do anything they
Okay, well,
want.
then
I
that's
just
why
want to know why they're
that's
being
why it's under
a little bit
consideration.
shifty about it. If that's the case, and you say, we don't want part-time employees or elected officials to be eligible to opt into healthcare benefits, even though it costs the township nothing, that's an honest answer. And I can accept that. I think it's dumb, but it's an honest answer. I'm asking you why you're doing this, and you're giving me your reason. You don't want that to be a possibility anymore. You, for whatever reason, have decided that you don't want people to be able to have benefits that cost the township nothing. That's fine. That's your right. You're the governing body. Do whatever you want. But when I ask, why are you doing this, and you tell me we're just trying to make a local ordinance so that people don't have to look at the state law to figure out what's going on, that doesn't make any sense. When you say they can't buy into taxpayer fund, or they can't receive taxpayer-funded health benefits, it's not taxpayer-funded unless the township's actually paying for it. So in the case of an individual who's paying the premium, that's not taxpayer-funded. That's employee-funded. And I think to say otherwise is, I mean, I'm just reading it on the face of what's written. I mean, again, if I were trying to confuse the issue, this is how I would write it. But I also think it's petty and ridiculous. I mean, how many part-time employees and elected officials are currently enrolled in any benefits program? Does anyone know?
No idea. Hopefully it's zero.
Well, it probably is zero. I mean, I really don't know. But here we are paying an attorney, paying an administrator to work on things that aren't problems, that don't need fixing, and that aren't being fixed. So that's my 2 cents, but I'll talk more about it in 2 weeks or a month or whenever the next meeting is.
Thank you.
Nancy Kennedy, still 711 St. George Street. And I'm so sorry, but my interest was piqued when Ms. Vassallo was talking, and I want to ask the question. How did this come up? Ms. Flame, did you go to the solicitor and ask him to address this issue?
No.
Ms. Petch-Wilson, did you go to the solicitor and ask him to address this issue?
No.
Mr. Bruno, did you go to the solicitor and ask him to address this issue?
No.
Mr. Deegan? Mr. Doyle? How on earth is this the #1 problem that we've got? You all clearly, rightly, did not approach this as an issue. How did it come before this committee? Does anyone want to answer that? All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Township Committee. Harry Kennedy, 1578 Fry's Mill Road. I noticed, now that I've become a certain age, Your Honor, my fellow senior citizens in the audience tonight, and I had no understanding that they were very upset. I hadn't seen them this upset since Mr. Deegan took away the lunch program several years ago. But they were upset tonight about the bus. And evidently, the bus is not running to transport the seniors, or not available?
I stopped down to drop something off to Ms. Metzger about a week ago. I talked to Jean Thompson, and I told her, because she asked, that we would be having a meeting, which is tonight, and I would get the input from the committee on the direction we want to take. Now, I don't know what message they got.
Right.
About that, but that's what happened.
Good. And again,
So, I mean,
I'm sorry,
we'll
Mr.
talk
Mayor.
about it, and
Good. So you have not reached any final conclusion as to
we haven't
how
discussed
you're going to
it. We
expend the
haven't
funds,
discussed
or
it, but
it's not part of the budget as of yet, though, the funding of a bus or the running of a bus, or it's still to be discussed?
The township budget still continues to maintain the funding level to function a bus and function the lunch
it
program.
wasn't removed from the budget.
Oh, but is the bus not running at the present time? Is that the
The
problem?
bus isn't running right now. I mean, it runs, but it's not being driven.
It's not being utilized to
Utilized.
provide services?
Yes.
That was very good, Mayor. I want to congratulate you.
Hey, you know what, though? It might not be running.
Yeah, it might not be. So in other words, although it is
Go out and
not...
start it up in a minute. I'll let you know. No, but I told Gene that we would
Right.
talk about it. And
So there's no final conclusion as far as you're concerned. It's still open for discussion.
It's open for
The money
discussion.
is
The money's in
available
the
in the
budget
budget.
for the programs.
And you will go there, you will examine it, and there's no clear-cut intention on the part of the Township Committee to forego any senior activities. I'm sure
Absolutely not.
COVID had a very
does.
unsavory
And
effect on all activities, but
We're
now that
finding
it's...
out that
right.
when the bus is running and there's people on it, that they will be in a face.
And again, I trust your governmental instincts, Mayor, as to the appropriate use of funds, and it's a fairly decent budget year.
I'll be watching
And
the bus.
I know you do, and I'm sure that you having a mother and father and being young yourself, but caring about people like myself that need that bus, I'm sure it will be a consideration for you as it comes up. And again,
I didn't think it was fair to the
Not
rest of
do it with the other
committee
township committee
to not have a
people.
discussion with them and commit to something that,
right. Mayor,
Otherwise, someone might not
you've
be willing
learned,
to
you've
do it.
learned a very valuable lesson. It is always much better to consult with your other township committee people than to make an announcement at the Senior Citizen Club de facto as to what's going to happen. I commend you on your intelligence and learning from the mistakes of the past. Thank you, Mayor.
okay. Can I get a motion to close the first public portion?
I make a motion, we close the first public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve correspondence and reports?
I make a motion that we approve the correspondence and reports.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from June 7th, 2021 and June 15th, 2021?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the bill list?
I make a motion that we approve the bill list.
I'm going to second, but excuse myself from the Franklin alarm line.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes, with the excuse of the Franklin alarm. Sorry.
Mrs. Flame?
Say
Yes.
that again, Mary? I forgot that. Yes, me too, Barb.
Me too.
I went out of the Franklin bill. Can I get a motion to approve food handling license, Dollar General 4440 Harding Highway?
I make a motion that we approve the food handling license.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the raffle license for Malaga Feast of Assumption?
I make a motion that we approve the raffle license.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. Can I get a motion to approve Resolution R-10521, approving the restrictive aerial easement between the United States of America, Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration, and the Township of Franklin?
I make a motion that we approve R 10521.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-10621, authorizing the adoption of a corrective action plan?
I make a motion that we, excuse me, adopt R 10621.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
I'm going to abstain because I really have to look into what exactly is happening with that.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-10721, authorizing an emergency trailer permit for the Petrillo family?
I make a motion to approve R 10721.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-10821, authorizing the execution of a certificate of compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidelines on the consideration of arrest and conviction records and employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964?
I make a motion that we approve R 10821.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-10921, authorizing the cancellation of outstanding general account and bail account checks issued for refund or overpayment?
I make a motion that we approve R 10921.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-11021, approving a shared service agreement between the Township of Franklin and the County of Gloucester to provide family move entertainment?
I make a motion that we approve R 11021.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-111, granting renewal of liquor license within the Township of Franklin, County of Gloucester for 2021, 2022.
Make a motion that we approve R-121, oh, excuse me, 111.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-11221, granting renewal of towing license within the Township of Franklin, County of Gloucester for 2021 to 2023?
I have a question. Is that all of them, Barbara?
Yes,
or-
it is.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve R-11221.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-11321, approving the acquisition of farmland preservation development easements on lands?
I make a motion that we approve R-11321.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-11421, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the fiscal year 2022 Dutch Mill Road resurfacing Phase 5 project?
I make a motion that we approve R-11421.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. I'm doing this next one for you, Mary. R-11521, authorizing the mayor to sign an alliance to prevent alcoholism and drug abuse program.
I make a motion that we approve R-11521.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R-11621, authorizing the calendar year 2021 reserve for uncollected taxes to be calculated using a 3-year average for use in the 2021 municipal budget?
I make a motion that we approve R-11621.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
What was the year, how many years were we using before?
So there's two ways that you can do it, Committeewoman. You can look at the past year, specifically as the collection rate of 2020, or you can do an average of 2020, 2019, and 2018 to come up with what your run would be for the budget.
Okay.
And we are utilizing, it only increased I think it was 0.05 of an increase, but it still had an increase for purposes of calculating the run.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to give, oh, sorry.
Mayor
Sussman.
Bruno?
Yes.
Would you like to give a brief overview before you introduce the budget?
You can.
Okay. So the municipal 2021 budget is a 2.99 cent increase, so roughly 3 cents, to the average home in Franklin Township, which is $186,875.17. It would be roughly a $55.86 increase. The levy is increasing $369,196.74. Principally, the overall budget is less than what last year's budget was, but that's due to the grants. Typically, you don't have all of your grants in as of yet. As you saw this evening, you just applied for a DOT grant, which would then be put in as a Chapter 159 to the budget once it's adopted. Specifically, the budget is $15,626,426. The amount to be raised is $8,717,322.33.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
What was the shortfall, Brandon, with COVID?
So if you use the DLGS's released Excel spreadsheet to calculate lost revenue, you can either look at it as a lost revenue based off of the base year 2019 or what the DLGS is doing, which is a base year plus 2. So the base year would be 2019, and then you're also looking at 2018 and 2017. By that calculation, the township was $1.9 million in the red from COVID. You only were eligible for half of your COVID funds, so that would be roughly $852,000. that was calculated and used within this budget as lost revenue makeup. You're not using any surplus funds in this budget, and my recommendation to the Township Committee would be to not utilize surplus funds in the next several years, so you can build that account, so you're not dealing with a cash flow issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 117.
We get a motion to approve R 11721.
I make a motion that we approve R 11721.
Well, second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 11821, authorizing the CFO to refund a construction application fee in the amount of $1,023 to Skyline Solar LLC?
Make a motion that we approve R 11821.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 11921, authorizing the CFO to refund a construction application fee in the amount of $315 to Pamela L. Thurston?
I make a motion that we approve R 11921.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 12121, authorizing the mayor to sign the Farmland Preservation Program Acquisition of Development Easements Grant Agreement for the project known as David P. and Lynn M. McAllister Farm?
I make a motion that we approve R 12121.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 12321, authorizing a closed session of the Township Committee of the Township of Franklin?
Did you skip 122?
Skipped 122. Oh, I'm sorry.
But we'll do that one, Eric. We'll make a motion to approve R 12321.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 12221, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to grant tax exemption for a totally disabled veteran?
Thank you. I make a motion that we approve R 12221.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. We get a motion for the introduction of the following ordinance. Public hearing will be held on August 10th, 2021. The ordinance is 01121, prohibiting part-time elected or appointed officials and professionals from receiving taxpayer-funded health benefits and pensions.
Make a motion to approve,
Introduction.
to introduce, excuse me, I apologize. I make a motion to introduce O 1121.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion for second public portion for any comments?
Make a motion, we go into the second public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
My name is Patricia Boyer, and I'm the bus coordinator for Franklin Township's senior bus. I just want to see when, if you have an idea, when we could go out.
Like I said, man, we're going to talk about it tonight, and we'll let you know.
Okay.
We're going to go into an executive meeting.
Somebody had said that you, if it was Gloucester, Glassboro Seniors bus, when their lunch program opens up inside, so they go inside to eat, and Williamstown, the same thing.
Okay,
Then our
well,
bus
this
would go
isn't,
out.
I mean,
But they don't
I
have anything to do
understand
with
that,
us.
but, I mean, just because they're doing something doesn't mean we necessarily have to do it. And like I said, when the time is right, we're going to talk about it, which is tonight. And I told them,
Okay.
all right?
Thank you.
I don't understand when the time is right. What do you mean by the time is right?
When they were going to start allowing, like, people to ride on the bus.
Seniors.
Seniors to get on the
Every
bus.
township is already out.
Okay.
Everyone.
Okay.
You don't give these seniors nothing.
Okay.
All right, they drug me out. It's the truth. I'm with the seniors now.
Bus driver.
I finally
You can be
reached
a
that
bus
after 40 years. Thank you, Mayor. I want to, why do you have to discuss it in closed session? It's not, I mean, excuse me.
We're not,
No, but hang on a second, but what I want to ask is this, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's no new business or old business on here. Shouldn't they hear what your discussion is? Is there a reason it has to be done behind closed doors?
The discussion is going to be pretty much, they're ready for the bus to go. Does anyone have a problem with it? And if you want, we can ask them right now.
I would love for you to ask
Okay,
them, just so
Heather,
that
do
we
you
can
have a
hear
problem
what
with
each
the
one of
bus
you
ride?
feel.
Honestly, I just want to make sure, because I've heard from some seniors about the bus not picking certain people up, or it was only exclusive instead of inclusive, and I just want to make sure that the inclusive.
That's not true.
Excuse me. It's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I would like to be reassured that that's what we are doing, because if that's what we are hearing from other taxpayers to make it an adequate situation, we just want to make sure that it is, I want to make sure that it is inclusive for everyone. I don't want anybody excluded. I don't want the bus going and picking everybody up except for my great-grandpop. You know what I mean? Like, so if there's one complaint that's brought to my attention, I need to make sure that it's inclusive. That's all. There's nothing against it. I want the bus to run, but I want to make sure that everybody that wants to be on that bus can get on that bus. Thank you.
Mary?
Well, this is the first I heard of that, so I would also want to piggyback and make sure that's done. But I would just like to make sure that everything safety-wise is being followed, cleaning, masks, and everything. But other than that, I don't have an issue with the bus.
Do we have a safety procedure?
Tim?
I usually get yelled at for supporting the seniors. I love the senior lunch. I love the senior bus. But let's be realistic. We had COVID, and I wouldn't put my grandmom on a bus a year ago or 6 months ago. So we're all just trying to figure this out. This is the first time it's come up. I am for it if we can do it in a safe way that protects all the seniors. Okay?
I spoke to Mayor Bruno 3 months ago, and he told me, Mr. Bruno, you told me you're going to discuss the senior bus at the next meeting.
And we did,
That was 3 months
we
ago.
talked about it, and it just wasn't,
It's
it
not
wasn't,
important
it
to
wasn't.
you, that's
Well, I
the
mean, you
point.
can say that.
It's very important.
If
I
that's
think
what you
it's-
believe, that's your right to believe that. It's the furthest thing from the truth, and that's fine, I know. Dave?
I also heard that it was very exclusive who got on the bus. And I've talked to several people down there about that. And that's not fair to the other taxpayers that you want to use the vehicle also to do it. I think if we do put it back in service, Mr. Mayor, I think it should be just to local venues and not long bus trips, because again, still with the COVID issue, I think if it's going to run them over to Walmart, or we're going to run them to the Amish market, I think it should be very short trips, not anything long trips.
Be happy with that. The bus can't pick people up if they don't live in Township. I can't pick them up if they're in Clayton.
We understand that. What I was told, and again, I shared this with Gene and also with Bill, that all of a sudden there's going to be a trip, and a select group of people are told about the trip and sign up. There should be a spreadsheet or a sign-up sheet out for everyone to have the same ability to sign up at the same time, not the same people time after time in the select group that are going to be using the bus. That's not the purpose of the bus. The bus is there for all of the senior residents in the town.
We write up a schedule for the month, and they're left inside of the community center, and they were putting it on TV, but they don't do it anymore.
Maybe we can post that on the township website.
It only fits 25 people.
I understand.
No, pick
Okay.
anybody up.
Anybody that calls gets picked up. I'm the driver. Anybody that calls.
I'm just sharing with you what I was told. I don't use it myself personally. I'm just sharing with you what was conveyed to me by many members that go to the lunch.
Many members should come here and say that.
Do you keep records
This is the first time I saw you here, ma'am, so you're more than welcome to come anytime you want.
Do you keep your records, like, of the signups and everything? Could you possibly just keep them, so if that argument comes up, if you want to hand them to us, we would gladly take them. I'll put them in a binder, just so we have it on record that, like, look, there was a sign-up sheet and I have it right here. I mean, I know it's a little bit of paperwork, but at the same time, anybody that then complains to me, I can be like, you're out of your mind. It's right here.
We did that one time a few years back, and anybody that got on the bus signed, and the paperwork was turned over, and nobody was taking the paperwork. So,
You turn the paperwork into Jen, we'll make sure it gets to the people it needs to get to, okay?
We're gonna have the trackers on the bus too.
Hi. I do have a list of approximately 25 people who do use the bus service or did use the bus service. I also have a list of 3 people who are handicapped and who are not being serviced, who absolutely need and would benefit greatly from the lunch program. So I just really want to encourage you to get the bus running, because it really is serving a very important need within our community for those individuals who need, there's people in the community who need the food, but these people also need socialization. They need to get out of the house. You know, like, the food is great. I know, like, for my mom, we don't go necessarily for the food. My mom needs to get out of the house. She needs to socialize with somebody other than me.
We understand, because we presented that back with the Health Triangle when we were doing the senior lunch to begin with, and the socialization and the activity involvement, as well as the nutrition for our seniors. So we totally understand. What was your name again?
Peggy Butner,
Thank you.
23 Wilson Road.
My only other concern would be, like, for tracking, we would have to have that list just to know.
I do have those names, if you would like to see that.
Well, I'm saying, like, who
tracking
gets
going
picked up,
forward.
but just in case, like, if a second wave of this nonsense, you know, if the pandemic and, like, I want to make sure that we have the records that are necessary to protect, or at least communicate them with the people that were on the bus and say, hey, this is what happened, or this is what we found, so we can open up that communication, because I wouldn't know who was on the bus.
Would you develop the form, Heather, so that, again, if it's name and phone number?
Well, if these
with
people
the
are
date.
going out to the luncheon, then we would also have that information.
So you have, like, who's on the bus?
Well, I mean, if they're
On
going to
that,
the
on any
lunch.
given day, we're looking for who's on
Yeah,
the
there
bus
might be a
today.
requirement to notify. For Thursday, we went to Walmart, and there could be an
Yeah,
incident.
and if I take it a step further and go with, like, how the schools are doing it, you know, there is assigned seating and who is in the close proximity on what location of the bus. I mean, I don't know how, and the rules are for us for transporting the seniors, but seeing those guidelines that they're implementing through the school, we may need just to be able to understand,
There are
like,
CDC guidelines for
You would
bus
have to
operators.
follow.
So these are the things we would have been talking
follow
about
the schools.
Okay.
together,
I just
there's
really,
nothing.
really want to encourage you that this is such a great service, and it is so needed. And I just want you to really understand that this is so important to so many people who are not here because it's dark and they're not driving. Or they're not driving because they should not be driving.
So if I understand everybody correctly, then we are looking towards getting the bus going. However, we want to check out the CDC guidelines to make sure that we're operating that bus and we have the necessary documentation as who's being picked up, and do we need, like, a, for lack of a better term, seating chart, just so we know who's next to who during that transportation guide.
Is there anything that we can do to help you in that process?
I'm going to defer
Someone's gonna
to
have
Brandon.
to do the list.
So specifically, you'd have to follow the CDC guidelines. I believe that the governor's last executive order talking about public transportation still requires that masks would need to be made.
But that's not required on a school bus, is it?
It's mandated
Public
in this
transportation.
situation until September, as of now.
We wouldn't make the rules for this stuff, you guys have to understand. And
No,
we
no, I
didn't
understand
stop
that.
the senior bus, nobody here stopped it or voted against it, COVID stopped it.
Right.
And we want to run it, we just have to figure out how to do it so everybody's safe, that's all.
I mean, my recommendation to the township committee would be that you would want to have at least some medical masks on the bus so that a senior wouldn't be turned away if they didn't have the items.
I mean, I think
have
we can
plenty
have
of
that and
hand
sanitizer.
sanitizer
Sure.
at the municipal building to cover it, but I would follow those guidelines. And until the, I mean, we do not know what the governor might do after September. It is September 30th is what his current jurisdiction is, but he is revisiting
Yeah,
with the
these
school
deadlines have
system
been consistently
on.
extended.
Yeah, he's been revisiting what the schools are going to
But
do.
the mask
I would
is
just-
only while they're on the bus.
Yes.
Correct. They lifted
They go into Walmart
They
or
lifted
Acme
that,
or
and
whatever.
they lifted, even if you're waiting for the bus, you used to have to, that's no longer, it's
Yeah,
as
you're
you get
outside.
on.
It's only
That's
on the
current
bus.
requirement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So do you think that we could say that by August 1st, we would have the bus in operation if we do the research and get all this stuff? Is that a fair expectation?
I
Which
mean,
gives
to
us
the
2
mayor's
weeks.
point, I would like to have Mr. Wiswati test the bus to make sure it
Well,
works.
it's sitting over here. It's got to
Functioning properly and
Yeah, it needs a
everything's
battery,
good.
I know, but-
I
It needs a
don't
bath.
want to start,
It needs to be,
yeah, I don't want to start
Needs to be
taking the
cleaned,
seniors
too.
and then have us
Full
break down
line
with them
noodles.
on it in the
Right.
middle of August.
Right. Okay.
But the administrative end, the restrictions end, I think the answer to your question, Mr. Deegan, is yes. Being we can get that compiled, and what Heather's talking about. But I
once we
can't
get the
speak-
stuff compiled, I mean, I'm okay. If everyone else is okay, we don't have to wait till a certain date. We'll give them a notice and we'll start it then.
How far notice do they need? How far notice do you guys need for running the bus? How much in advance, like if we can get all our end of it together, the CDC recommendations, as well as getting it tested through the mechanics?
Ed said as soon as, he said to let him know a couple weeks ahead of time. The mechanic, Ed,
Right.
actually, it only really needs a battery, that's what was wrong with it.
What about for the seniors? How far in advance? How far in advance do the seniors need to know?
Couple months, couple weeks. But wait a minute, I need to know something, because Delsey dropped the contract. I was under Delsey, but I had to know if you were gonna hire me for this, you know what I mean?
That's a great question.
Well, I figured that. Yeah, I drove 45 years ago,
What's that?
and 5 years on the
We'll
city.
talk about that.
Okay, so then we're gonna have to review the budget, make sure that we have it for a paid bus driver and
We
that.
do have, there is money in the budget for this.
But if we're going to do it, we have to advertise.
No, there's money in the budget for the senior bus as well as, Michelle's a little different.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, see, because Delsey just paid it.
Hello, Mr. Bill.
Bill Morris, Oak Avenue. I wasn't going to comment on the bus, but my suggestion is that a survey be done by the seniors at the luncheon to see where they want to go. It should not be decided by Hope. It should be what stores they want to go to. That's my opinion on that. Then the other issues was, let's see, today I had a door-to-door solicitor stop at the door at the house. The company was Green Necks Pest Control. I'm not aware of them having a solicitation permit in the town.
We did away with we put a ban on all solicitation.
I would, yeah, at this point, I informed the young lady that she was in violation and she could be arrested for it. I know it's not true, but I kind of grandstanded a little.
Way to go, Bill. Brian, you want to comment on that?
Impersonating a police officer?
But when we do permit them to be active again, I request that the township look into having a list of the top-level vendor on the township webpage, so we don't have to call Brian or
It's a good idea.
Barb. Also, if it's legal, to put signage on all major roads and in the township stating that permits are required. Because some towns require them and some towns don't. Second issue is, has any report been made about problems with refrigeration equipment at the community center?
Not to me.
Today at the Senior Advisory Committee, it was brought to our attention that on 2 different days, all the milk for the seniors was sour. And it wasn't that they were past dated.
I can Jen told me she picked it up from Delsey, and it went into the refrigerator that was tested at the right temperature, and it must have been spoiled from Delsey, was her conclusion, because she checked the temperature and everything, and there was no temperature problem. But she did tell me that was circulating.
Did she talk to
among
them
the-
at Delsey and let them know that?
Dated the 17th. The book was dated the 17th, so it wasn't out of date, and it was last weekend, this weekend. Chocolate milk and regular milk.
Delsey might not have stored it correctly, I don't know, but that was Jen's report to me.
Would it be worth it to have a technician out just to, annually, to inspect the refrigeration equipment, to make sure the gaskets all sealed and all that fun stuff?
I think there's a thermometer in there at all times.
Moving down, I request that the township arrange for free tax preparation available to seniors for next tax season. If it's possible, like AARP used to do free taxes, to do it at the community center. And the last issue, I've been looking at the Census Bureau records, and according to 2019, there were 330 seniors aged 65 and over that are living alone in the township. My concern is
What was that number, Bill?
Sorry, Bill, I can't
What was that
hear you.
number?
330, according to the Census 2019 estimates.
Living alone.
Living alone, 65 and over. And with heat emergencies and stuff, we don't know where they are. That is, there's some way we can find out who they are so that in an emergency, we can be proactive about it.
Put a map together. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Well, wait, happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, how are
Sandy
you?
Davis, 2952 Tuckahoe Road. I would like coffee. Not just tonight, but at the senior center. We haven't had coffee. Everybody loves coffee. Nobody's giving me a reason why. Could you guys help me?
Honestly, I can say that, like, our coffee stuff was taken out of the schools, any kind of community coffee stuff. I don't know if that rule applied here, but they did take it from us as well over at this school. Because it was like, maybe too many people were handling the coffee machine. I don't, the things were crazy, but we'll definitely look into that for you.
I would greatly appreciate that, and so would everybody else that comes in there like, help me, please.
We'll look into it. We'll talk to Jen.
I appreciate that immensely. And before...
Just don't have too much coffee now.
Oh, I
The ones
never get
bouncing
too
off the walls
much.
here.
Never kept me awake. Before we get the seniors all coming back on the bus, can we start doing more at lunch instead of, well, today is hot lunch, tomorrow's not, the next day is, but you better sign up for the rest of the week or you're not getting anything.
So what do you mean by more? Can we sign up for more? What does that mean?
Better lunches for the seniors when they return. I can handle stuff on my own. Yeah, I have a bad hand, I can't do this, can't do that, but many of them can do nothing. And they used to rely on coming there and getting their hot lunches every day.
So you want the hot lunch back is what you're
I would love to see that
requesting?
come back for them, definitely.
Okay.
It would be really great, because again, they can't
That-
do it.
Well, again, we have to get in touch with the food service and make sure that everything is that way. Now, it was at a certain time, and I don't know what the regulation is coming down from the CDC about what we're doing with serving and hot versus cold. I do know that in some districts, they did offer a hot option, but again, I think it depends on who your food service operator is, so. But we can definitely pose the question and see.
I would love for you to look into it.
Did we have hot lunches in
Are
the
we getting
summers
hot-
before?
2 a week?
Yes.
I think 2 days a week, I think we had hot lunches.
What's that? With bad milk and no coffee.
Yeah, and there is no
Hey, that sounds
butter.
like my breakfast every day.
I thought you got a hot tongue and cold shoulder.
I don't get any of that. Get
Thank
any-
you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you're all looking into it.
Thank you, thank you.
They got 2 hot lunches, 3 cold.
2 hot, 3 cold. During the summer, or is that all year?
That's what they're currently getting right now. I don't know what the summer's
Yeah, it's close. Just the hot.
Good evening.
Good evening.
the seniors are important in this township. Was on the senior advisory group. Heather, what you're talking about, and Dave, what you're talking about, was back in 2017, where they had that issue, and that issue was straightened out with the bus. The big hiccup is, again, the bus only fits a certain amount of people, and there is a large group that sit together, and if you've been down there, which you have, you noticed how certain people sit with certain people, and it's all the time. So when we do the bus list, you might want to make sure that they want to sit next to who they want to sit next to on the bus.
They
So-
can sit with whoever want. We
just want the final product.
Who was next to her, who today,
But when
because
they make
she's
up their
sick, and
list to go different places,
they could do it as soon as they walk on the
It's-
bus, they could do it.
right, it's not one person that makes up the list. I know what Bill said. I was in charge of that advisory group. These are a great bunch of seniors, and they do deserve a little bit more than what we are giving them if we can. So we need to get the bus in line.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That was 2017, not to cut you off. I just wanted to make sure, because when you hear the complaint, how do you know, you know?
Right, it definitely happened. It happened in 2017. I was on the advisory group. I went to Pat's house and talked to her about it. And we reviewed it, and we reviewed her list of what she has. And unfortunately, some of the people, they say they want to go, but then they change their mind, and then somebody else always takes the spot. The other problem was, who do they call? They can only call her, especially if they're calling off hours. They can't call anybody in township. You shut at 4:30. So who's going to pick up a phone other than one of them? So that's your other problem, unless you're going to designate somebody to take an off hours call, but then you're going to be paying them, and you're not going to get my vote on that. I don't think you should pay overtime for any of that.
We'll push that back to the senior advisory.
Make Bill do it.
Seniors are available during the day.
Right. That's who takes the.
Well, thank you for doing that.
So that's how they know.
Yeah.
Second, Brandon, you said that we were $1.9 million in the red?
So per the state's guidance on how the federal government is looking at allocation, which would be on a 3-year average. So if you take what our average was over the 3 years, we were $1.9 million in the red
Less revenue.
in revenue. So collection of revenue. So based off of what you collected on average in the 3 years, you were $1.9 million that you
was
could
due to
apply through the state to get COVID funds from the federal government.
So, but why wasn't the residents notified of this in the red?
So that's what the audit would provide. So the AFS was released, I want to say, 2 weeks ago, and that shows what the township appropriated versus what was brought in. The budget that I just handed to Leah has that as well. It will show the calculation of what was budgeted for and what was collected in. So you will see the true number there. Off the top of my head, I do not have that figure, but under the state's guidance, because I had to apply for that money, it was 1.9 million.
Is this the auditor's report that was on the agenda that came off the agenda?
So that is a corrective action report. That is not an audit report. It's a corrective action to the audit findings.
Is that what's in that report that Leah has?
No.
No, that's just strictly budget numbers.
So are we bringing that back, are we following this auditor's report or request
I am.
of changing different things that were in the past, his recommendations?
Better.
So it depends on what corrective action item
a
that you're
whole
looking
lot.
at. There was 9, I believe. So,
That's a lot.
But, specifically to the revenue portion, the township is just continuing reviewing what revenue they can bring in. Last year's revenue, they utilized $650,000 in surplus. They're not utilizing any of that this year. So that's one of the items that they're looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ethel Winters. Getting back to the bus, I know it came up a few years ago, back in 2017, when we were taking longer trips, which we won't be now. We'll be happy to get the bus back just to go to Walmart. But a lot of people would want to go on the long trips, but you would never see them. Tuesday and Thursday go by for 2 months. But a big trip comes, oh, well, how come I couldn't sign up? Why shouldn't the loyal people that go every Tuesday and Thursday
be able to sign up for the long trips. When
long
some,
as-
the only reason they want to do is go on the long trips.
All we're asking is that it's out there and everyone has the same opportunity to sign up, ma'am.
Right, they
They
have
have
the
their choice to sign up
opportunity,
or
but
not
they're
sign
not
up,
on
so,
the bus
yeah. You're fine.
to sign up. When the sign-up the slip comes out, they're not there. We're supposed to call them up and
Nope,
say,
they missed the
No,
opportunity.
but if we make it like it's always going to be on a Tuesday, the sign up, then everybody knows, oh, on the second Tuesday, just like I know I have a planning board meeting on the third Tuesday, that's when the sign-ups are going to be. We
yeah,
can
well,
we can
have
figure
to
out
have a
something.
slip ahead of time when what's going to go on.
Yeah, so like as long as we can put that down and out, like, okay, it's always going to be on whatever day, the second Tuesday, whatever works for you guys.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be taking long trips, but that's what happened when we did take a long trip.
Like if the bus, if it's filled, anybody else has asked me, I put the name down, and somebody's canceled, so I call that person.
So you have a reservation, you have the list to the list,
Right.
the backup list.
Yeah, I really can't.
Perfect.
Hi, Leah Vasallo again. I was sitting in the middle of the rowdy seniors, so I couldn't hear super clear, but did you say we had an average revenue shortfall of $1.9 million over the last 3 years?
Based off of the spreadsheet that the DLGS asked us to input numbers off of, it was calculated at $1.9 million.
So what is our total revenue each year
Well,
as a
that would-
township estimate?
Pulling up the budget.
Yeah.
So specifically, as you know, the township's revenue is separated into multiple sections. A surplus and an anticipated section, the miscellaneous revenue section, local revenue. In 2020, you requested close to you anticipated bringing in roughly $1.2 million. You only brought in $812,000
In what?
in local revenue.
Okay.
So local revenue is broken down
But
into
I'm
varying.
asking a total revenue, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was somewhere between 11 and 14 million when I sat up there, township revenue, roughly the whole budget.
Well,
I-
the total budget was 15.8 last year.
Okay, well, then it's gone up a little bit, but I don't see how you could possibly have a revenue shortfall of $2 million every year in a $15 million budget.
I'm
And
not
not have a
stating that.
disaster.
I'm not stating that. I'm stating that the state issued, through the Division of Local Government Services, a spreadsheet that the towns were supposed to submit to the DLGS.
Okay.
That inputted what numbers you collected in 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then that spreadsheet had a calculation that was given to them by the federal government to calculate what your anticipated lost revenue would be that you could ask the federal government to reimburse you.
So it
That
has-
is not an actual number.
So it has nothing to do with an actual budget?
It does not.
Okay, thank you.
It's based off their calculations of
So they
what,
have a formula for
Yes.
calculating aid that's based on revenue, but the number you gave, the 1.9 million, has
Is-
nothing to do with a revenue shortfall
Oh,
over the last 3 years?
it's stating that that's what they're claiming that our revenue shortfall would be that you can apply for.
What do you mean it would be? It would be if
That's what
what?
it, from the numbers we put in, it's $1.9 million over the last 4 years. 3 years that are calculated plus the 2020.
But I don't understand, the revenue shortfall would be if what? I mean,
Ma'am,
if it wasn't.
I have not looked at an overall strategy of what the revenue shortfall has been over the last 4 years. I'm just giving you what the DLGS asked administrators to submit to them.
Okay, so has anyone, double check those numbers from the
The auditors.
CFO and the auditor?
The Bowman, who was our auditor, received it. It went to the DLGS, and I spoke to Tina Sabici, who's the deputy director of the DLGS today, about what the township is utilizing its $850,000 in COVID funds for.
Okay,
And
I'm
that
just,
was
I'm,
approved.
I'm just caught up with the $1.9 million revenue shortfall number. I really don't understand what you're getting at, but I'll trust you that it's something that is not an actual revenue shortfall, but is being called a revenue shortfall for reasons that I don't really understand, but thank you.
change the bus starting to the end of
Or
August?
the beginning of September, because, Ed said to give him a notice, because he's got it, it's been sitting there for a month, a year, over a year now, and all it needs is a battery, but he says, from sitting there, he's got to check it, and I got to take it to inspection. And another thing, I got to give you all my physicals from Delsey, because I get physicals every year for the bus, to be a bus driver.
So to do the CDL, right?
25 years, yes. I have all the physicals. I can get them from Delsey, you can go.
Okay.
If you're still hiring me.
Right, that was the point.
Yes, that was the point.
Hello, John.
Dave, the first thing I'd like to do is thank you for Thursdays. That's been a big help and I just wanted to thank you personally for that.
Not a problem.
Okay. The other thing is, Clayton is running their bus full-time. Now, I don't know how they're doing it, to your point. I mean, there's got to be, why don't we ask them? Salem County is running their bus full-time. They're advertising on TV to get people to go on there. I mean, it can be done.
Right, well, and that's where I think we're at. We've got to just have the mechanic check it out and make sure we have a driver.
What I'm saying is, as far as how to do it safely, COVID, mask, whatever, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how to find that out.
Yeah,
That's what we're
gonna
going to
look
do.
into it.
Pardon me?
That's our plan, to figure out what the state guidelines are.
I mean, I know there's 2 counties that are doing it full-time. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's worth an ask, right?
Sure.
Absolutely, thank you.
No problem. Dave, again, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor?
And no coffee on the bus,
Sir?
no
Mr.
eating
Mayor,
or
if
drinking
I
on the
may,
bus.
Since Ms. Vasallo would like to question my numbers, Ms. Vasallo is correct. Looking at the DLGS number, it was $11.7 million in revenue that was brought in to the town in 2017, $11.8 million that was brought in as revenue in 2018, and then $14.9 million in 2019. 2019, by federal guidelines, is your base year and where you base it off of. So what they are looking at is 17, 11.7 million, 18, 11.8 million, 19 having 14.9 million, and then in 2020 averaging at 15 million. So they are looking at, of your 3 years, you had a very big jump in 2019. I would have to pull out the 2019 budget to call where those specific jumps in local revenue that came in, and then be able to look at it. But that's how you're coming up with the counterfactual, as they call it, it's a counterfactual revenue number.
Thank you.
And if I have internet, I can pull up the 2019 budget if that's continued to be asked. But that is why you see a $1.9 million differentiation under the state's guidance.
Thank you. Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jason Brandt, 688 Rosemont Avenue. Happen to have a budget question regarding the 1.9 million. When are you anticipating the receipt of the, we'll call it, is it a grant, Mr. Rimba, or a
We've already received
reimbursement? Is that anticipated in this year's budget?
It's anticipated in this year's budget, and it was received 8 days after we applied for it by a direct wire to the township's bank account.
So assuming that were to be extracted from the budget, we would be looking at roughly 12% or 12-cent increase on the rate, or?
A penny is $123,000, so.
So what's that, another 6 or 7 cents?
But we're not
If it was not
applying
for
the
that.
whole, we're not applying that whole
Not applying the
dollar.
whole amount. You can only apply 50% under federal guidelines.
So you're anticipating 50% of?
Yeah, the township received roughly $1.7 million in the American Rescue Fund money,
Right.
and you're only allowed to apply 50% of it this year and then 50% of it next year.
Is that inclusive of the half of the 1.9 loss of revenue?
So that was a calculation that the state wanted you to provide to them if you want to use American Rescue money to fund as a loss of revenue. So for us, if we were issued $1.9 million, if the federal government was giving us $1.9 million, we could have applied for $1.9 million this year to get that. But we were only eligible for roughly about $852,000.
So the American Rescue money is 1.7 million?
Roughly. No, they gave us a little more. 1.7.
They're so generous.
And there's no additional 850, is what you're saying? All we're
Next
getting is
year-
the 1.7 million.
Next year, you will get 852,000 again. So the same amount that we applied for this year. I don't know what our lost revenue would be for next year based off of what the state's calculation is. But you could apply for lost revenue if that calculation still comes through that in the amount of the 852,000 that you would get next year.
So this year's budget anticipates 852,000 in revenue from that, but we still have another 1.7 million?
No.
Separately?
That's the 50. So 1.7 is cut in half.
Okay.
852 this year, 852 next year.
Okay, so we're only getting the 1.7?
Yes,
Okay,
altogether,
I
in 2
understand.
years.
Okay, but we're only anticipating half of the full amount?
The full.
So
8,250.
850,000 will be anticipated in this year's budget?
Yes.
Equating to
sheet
roughly
10.
6 cents on the rate?
Yes.
Had
A little
that
more,
money
a little
not been utilized? And what is that being allocated to? Are we doing any additional capital improvements with that money, or is it simply going to the operating expenses, or?
It's simply going to operating in order to continue to operate the township at the current level that it's at.
Okay. Thank you.
So it would be September that we be taking.
Are we back on the bus? I don't know if I got off the bus. I'm confused. So we're just going to follow up with Wazawadi and see exactly what he recommends from the bus and Wazawadi, I'm sorry, and get our information from Salem and Clayton and see what the other companies are doing, as well as the CDC guidelines. And I believe all those steps should take us into September, according to what the mechanic seems to be telling you to tell us. Does that mean you gave him notice, or you didn't give him notice?
No, I tell myself, no.
Okay.
I keep in touch with you.
Thank you.
I get a motion to close the second public portion for any comments.
I make a motion that we close second public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion we go into closed session.
No.
Second.
Personnel matter, and there will be no action taken. Thank you, Mr. Flores.
Motion to go back into public session.
I make a motion we go back into the public session.
Well, second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports.
Aren't you glad you stayed?
Tim?
Although,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
due to unfortunate circumstances and some family health issues, I was not able to attend Unity Day, but I know Mr. Doyle has spoke very highly of it and was going to give a nice talk, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but I do want to thank everybody for putting that together. I know all the hard work that went into it, and you can definitely see the benefits of our town with all the hard work that Unity community is doing. So I just want to say thank you to that, and congratulations to our new officer.
Yep, I went to Unity Day. It was great. They built on what they did last year, had some more activities for the kids, had some more vendors. There was good police turnout there. There was, like I said, a lot of familiar faces. It was nice, and like I said, I think we need to keep building on that and have more positive events in town.
Mary?
I just want to thank the Unity Advisory Committee on their second annual block party. It was an awesome time. I was able to get there with the baby, and I saw Renee and Cindy there, and it was wonderful. And thank you for everything you guys are doing. The whole committee and all the volunteers that were there. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the township and for uniting us all, which is, just a beautiful thing to watch all come into action. And we had a great time. And thank you again. So I did, and I was holding on to hope because I wanted to be able, like I was talking to Cindy, I wanted to be able to give that to Miss Money, who is doing amazing things and had a lot of amazing things to say about Tim. That so it was really great to talk to her. So I hope to be in touch with her in the future, and I look forward to seeing everything she does down there.
We're talking quite a bit about that group, and I had the pleasure of attending their video conference on the Juneteenth celebration, and which was, they had a guest speaker there, and she was very, very informative, and she did a really good job. I learned a lot by participating in that. I also had the opportunity to represent the Township Committee at the Juneteenth celebration that they had at the New Field Community Center. And it was nicely done. We did 2 proclamations for the folks down there. The mayor asked if I would do those, and they also brought in a dance troupe to perform as well, and that was loud, to say the least, with the drums, but it was well done, and it was an exciting evening, very good. I also had the opportunity to, again, represent the Township Committee at the high school graduation this year at Delsey, which was, again, a quick note there was a young man, what's his name, Metzger, Scott Metzger. Scott is a senior this year.
Or Joe.
Or Joey, excuse me. Joey was, his dad is Scott, excuse me. Joey was up in Massachusetts attending a football camp up there for top 20 colleges. And the whole way home, his mother was sitting in front of me, and she's telling me, oh, they're here, they're here, they're here. He ran in when there was only 4 more names to call on graduation evening. And they had his cap and gown hanging on the fence, so his father pulled up, he grabbed it and ran onto the field and was able to get his, diploma with the rest of the students in his graduating class, which I thought was, and it seems like everybody knew it, because when he ran out on the field, he got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
So, no, that's what I had the opportunity to do. I was unable to attend Saturday. I hurt my back, and this is the first day I've been out in the last 10 days, so, but thank you, Mayor.
I just want to congratulate the new officer that we hired. I know it's been a long time coming, Brian, and we appreciate your patience. Brandon, thank you for the budget, putting all the work in, getting us to that point for the budget. I couldn't make it to Unity Day, I apologize, but I'm running out of days to work. I figured you were going to pick it up. Since you don't do anything in your job, that's on the record, isn't it? Damn, now everybody's going to know. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn before we get to something.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for hanging in there, folks.